Audi Crooks is probably better than you at basketball. Let's break it down today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you guys that are here every day and make this your first listen or watch every day. You guys are the ones that make this world go round. I couldn't appreciate you enough. Wherever you're listening or watching, completely for free, all this Cyclones coverage. Be sure to subscribe so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone state. We got a lot to talk about today, all on the hardwood. Audi Crooks and the women, what happened in that whole situation, ups, downs, roller coaster, emotionally, physically, everything in and or around that is going to be fun. Then obviously TJ Thotzelberger is our second segment. That's going to be fun. I love every time that TJ gets behind a mic, and getting to talk about it is electric. And then finally, to round things out for today's episode, we'll break down Iowa State, Utah, and the men's basketball showdown that will be happening later today. Before we get to that, though, first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, let's dive right on into the women's side of things before we get into the men's basketball to round out today's episode. Audi Crooks, now the fastest Cyclone to reach 1,000 points. But it came kind of at an inopportune time. Audi Crooks, obviously the sensational sophomore and turning a lot of heads, scoring 40 points here, there, everywhere. But it comes in a loss to Utah. I've got the box score right here, 67-75. Audi in this game with 29 points, but nobody else really had a ton. Obviously, Emily Ryan with her fair share, 18 there, and then Addie Brown with another 10. But outside of that, you got a 3, 2, 2, 3. That's it, actually. Yeah, that is the remainder of the points. So you total those up, you got 18 and 10. That's 28. 28 plus 29. That's like what? 3 short of 60, so 57. So then the 10 points remaining. Wow, points remaining, came from the rest of the team. The share of points is something that Bill Fennelly talked about after the game, and was kind of like, hey, this is not really how we're going to win a lot of games this way. And I will say, this game, it was an interesting one. If you watched it, I think the ending of this game was where I was kind of like, what in the world are we doing here? But to be fair, Iowa State was kind of in this game, obviously at home, 10-6 now on the year, 1-2 in the conference. So looking to turn things around with this trip to Arizona. This game, it seems to me like, and I don't know if this is a knock on Iowa State or just a super unlucky situation, but Iowa State women's basketball seems to get the best performances out of everyone that they face. If you remember back to the UConn game, I mean, you remember that 10 of 11 first quarter? It was unbelievable. And then, in this Utah game, senior transfer May Tor, made 4 of 6 threes after just 8 all year. So that's pretty good, I would say. She had 24 points, 11 above her per game average. So I don't know if that's Iowa State or not. Given that it's happened more times, makes me think that there might be something there. But overall, it kind of pulled away from that loss. Pulled away from Audi hitting 1,000 points. Obviously for this year, she's averaging 23 per game, 8 rebounds, and just short of 2 assists per game. So pretty solid stats. It's just not translating to wins right now with a total of 6 losses. The ending of that game I thought could have been handled a little bit better, but I'm not the coach. So I'm sure in a couple months I will be like much more opinionated about situations like that as I go through this and break every single game down. I'll be like, hey, you know what? I kind of am a coach at this point. I think we've reached this level. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. That being said, an 8-point loss to Utah, certainly not the best thing that the Cyclones, could, have had happened to them, I guess is how I'll say it. But they'll face Arizona State on the 8th and then Arizona on the 11th. So they'll go out, get some nice weather and maybe find themselves a little bit or something. I don't know. I think this team is really good. It's just that we haven't seen it yet. And the Lions' share of the points coming from Brown, Crooks, and Ryan is actually a little bit concerning, I will say. Utah had some dogs. Like they had some people show up. Obviously, May being one of them. McQueen, 15 points. And then theirs was also kind of peaked between two people, their score, but they did have Neepkins with 9, had that knee. I don't know what happened there, but I think it was a knee-to-knee contact deal because she came back into the game. She went down. And I said, "Oh, that's an ACL." And I fully take responsibility for assuming that quickly, but it looked like it was. Then they show the replay, and you're like, wait, which knee was it? Because it looks like the right knee is the one that bends weird, but the left one is the one she's holding. She comes back. She's fine. We're happy for her because obviously she is kind of, up until this point, she was who we broke down on the pregame. And then Vieira with 8 and Johnson with 5. So they're a little bit more even split, but only 14 points coming off of the bench for them. And with a name like McQueen, that's just like waiting for greatness. Let's just call it how it is. Huge fan of the Cars movie, so I had to throw that one in there. But 11 for 20 for Crooks. Didn't attempt any threes. The team as a whole shot 42%, 25% from beyond the arc. Shot solid from the free throw line. That's good. 82% there. Only 10 offensive rebounds and 23 defense. That gives you the 33. 17 assists is a promising number. I just don't think it's clicking right now. And I don't know if it's, the ending of that game is what people are all going to look at. I think it was mismanaged. There was definitely a missed opportunity there for the Cyclones to at least get it to a manageable position. All of a sudden, it was just a runaway for Utah, which I hope to see flipped, for the men. I hope we're shaking hands as that buzzer goes off there tonight. But that being said, it was the question now to me. Obviously, this segment is named after Audi Crooks and her getting to 1,000 points, the fastest in Cyclone history. Hey, round of applause for her. That's an unbelievable feat. But this is a team game, and I think I'm almost kind of confused. Like, what is this team's identity? What are we doing here? What are we? What is our actual? How do we win games? Because we've won 10, but we've also lost 6 at this point in the year. It's not great, and falling to 1 and 2 in the conference doesn't help anybody. So, besides, I guess, the opponents, but that's my biggest question with this team, and how are they going to attack opponents outside of Brown, Crooks, and Emily Ryan. Emily Ryan with 6 assists there, Brown with 8. So that's 14 of the 17 assists came from 2 players. The points we've already talked about. Rebounds 8 and 4, or 8 total, 4 and 4 for Crooks. 8 of 33. I wouldn't say that's a surprising number considering the role that Crooks plays on this team. I just think that this is something that Bill Fennelly's going to have a bit of an uphill battle. But it's not a team that I would expect to finish, dead last in the conference, and I don't think we will. I just think this team is a better team than 1 and 2 in the conference, and this loss to Utah. I mean, they're 3-0. They're 12-2, 3-0 in the conference. That is. So this is a good team, and I think that the game was played out in a way that it was like Iowa State can get this win. This is a good enough team to win this game. It's disappointing we fell to Utah, but we'll turn around. We got plenty of time. That is for sure. That being said, Iowa State men will face Utah tonight. The men's team, not this women's Utah team. They'll face the men's team at Utah, and they are coached by one of the best coaches in the nation, in my opinion. And anytime he gets behind a mic, you got to turn on your ears. You got to put him in listening mode. And certainly hear what he has to say. We'll break down everything he said post Baylor right after this. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games, and I can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an upcoming game. Browsing through the deals was a breeze, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal, in particular, stood out as the best value for the event. I love that I could see the seat views before buying and that the app shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, the on time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Iowa State is coached by none other than TJ Otzelberger, arguably the greatest coach in the history of basketball. He's definitely up there. Granted, that's coming from Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And anytime this guy gets behind a microphone, it's amazing. I kind of wish this guy was my dad. I kind of wish that he coached every team I had ever been a part of. Everything he is about, I am completely all 100% for. And so we got to break it down. And shout out to you guys in the comments down below for the name of this segment, TJ Thotzelberger. I like that more than Otz's thoughts. So I'm going to roll with that this week. And the press conference we're going to take this material from is from the post-game presser after the win over Baylor. And obviously I watched the one for the pre-Utah that he did today. And I think, it's kind of the same stuff. But overall, I think that, I watched this Baylor one. I was like, we have to do a segment on that. That is just simply bar for bar, like amazing. So we're going to break it down. Obviously, Iowa State honored the back-to-back Big 12 champions coached by Coach Eustace at the halftime of the Baylor game, and that we've talked about a little bit. And so the I guess other reporters asked TJ, they talked with Eustace at the half, and he said that this team reminds him of his teams that he had, obviously. And they asked TJ, what does that mean to you? And he said, well, Eustace's teams were relentless. They always sprint back to get set on defense, and they try to limit opponents to one shot. And that's something that this team tries to carry going forward. And then another point that he talked about was, Eustace always said, rebound down, rebound down, rebound down. And for those of you not familiar with the term, TJ broke it down as the bigs boxing out and then the guards coming down in and grabbing that rebound. And you saw Gilbert with 10 rebounds against Baylor. And this is an interesting one because there's not a whole lot to unpack here. I mean, it's pretty face value at its core. But I just think that it shows, TJ Otzelberger, it's his third year, right? Third year? I think it's his third or fourth year. I'm blanking right now. I want to say third, but I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize. It's late. And so anyways, the lore that he is like in tune with this team and its history and the tape that he's watched of this team from 20 something years ago, 23 years ago. I don't know how the math works out on that, depending on which part of the year you want to pull from, but he's in tune with the Cyclones. And he said, he's like, I love it here. This place is great. And he mentions like the fans and everything. And I think that's why I love Otz so much is it's not, it feels to me, and obviously the extension through 2032 kind of helps bolster this point. It feels to me like this is his home right now. Maybe in 2032 he decides to go somewhere else, but honestly, I don't think that'll happen. I think that he is pretty much locked on, I suppose, on the Cyclones, and just the history that he knows about this team was something that I was like, that's awesome. And he tries to take those key principles moving forward. Then they kind of asked him about the win over Baylor. There wasn't a lot of celebration. You beat a top 25 team by 19 points. Is this the new standard? Is this expected? And he said, we're not really outcome based here. Obviously, we understand that, on a game day, on a day like today, the job is to come in and to win the game. That is what we're here to do. But, we focus on routine, your daily routine every day, your daily habits, making the most out of every day. And then he dropped this bar that everybody's heard before, but I love how you do anything is how you do everything. This dude, I mean, he just doesn't miss. He absolutely knows what he's talking about. And I love that he sticks to his ground. Like, this is something we've heard from him every single presser essentially is it's all about the daily habits. And he's like, getting enough sleep, which I am clearly not doing right now. Eating the right way, coming in, practicing hard every single day, making yourself better in every way that you can. And obviously that's the anything and everything that he talks about there. And he says, like the games will take care of themselves if we keep our focus where it needs to be. And so that is, I just love the way that he approaches that side of the game, which is a perfect segue to the last point here. But before I go to that, it's just the focus on, people always say like, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. That's like odds in a peanut shell. It's about the journey. And obviously we want that destination, that, we want that win. We want to cut down the nets, but we need to be we need to put all the prep into today, into tomorrow, into the day after that, into yesterday. How did yesterday go? Like that's kind of how he operates. And I love it. This one, I actually am a bigger fan of, just getting a look into Otz's brain, as opposed to, obviously he's kind of honoring Eustace in that first point I brought up. But this is TJ Thoughtselberger. This is what he thinks, about, I guess, as a coach in general. And then finally, the last thing is he talked about how, a lot of younger coaches are kind of number or analytics driven. And he's like, I will always be mentality driven. That is exactly just how I work. He said, just being the tougher, more aggressive team, more physical team, that's going to carry you to those wins. And it's kind of like what he said earlier, like the games will take care of themselves if we do this. How you do anything is how you do everything. Like it's this butterfly effect. And he references it there. Like if we're just these, three things that you can't really measure, we're going to play really good basketball. And obviously he's like, shortly thereafter mentions like, we keep track of rebounds, we keep track of points in the paint, we keep track of, steals and turnovers and things of that nature. And so he, it's not that he doesn't look at the stat sheet ever. I don't want to convey that point, but he certainly is much more on the side of, let's just go out and just play really hard. Just play as hard as you can and do your job as best as you can. And then whatever happens today, we're going to evaluate that and do something with it tomorrow. And then we're going to take on tomorrow as hard as we possibly can and get better, and do that repeatedly over and over and over until the next game. And then we'll play as hard as we possibly can there. We'll evaluate it and we'll go from there. And so I love that he's just like very, because it's so easy to get caught up in the numbers. Like you see my game breakdowns. If you're watching the show, I get totally caught up in the box score, and that's where I'm going right after this. It's so easy to get tied up into those. And I love that we have a coach that it's bigger than that. It's about, at the end of the day, I'd love to be in one of those press conference rooms and somehow work an answer out of him that I know he would say, or I suppose I'm very certain that he would say, it's about growing bigger, stronger men, mentally, physically, emotionally. At the end of the day, like, yes, we want to win basketball games. That's what I'm here to do. That's my job. But we are here to develop these, 18-year-old boys that come in as freshmen into men. I just know that that's how his brain thinks. And I think he's one of the best coaches in the nation for it. Absolutely. And one of the best coaches in the nation. Result, one of the best teams in the nation. One of the best teams in the nation will be taking on Utah tonight. We got to break down that game because this could be an absolute barn burner. That's for sure. Coming up right after this. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website and share betting lines around your team or league. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Iowa State is a basketball team. They have a basketball team here in Ames, Iowa. They'll be playing a team from Utah that plays basketball as well. Both teams will be male, and it will go down in Hilton Coliseum. You're here with Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let's break it down, huh? Let's talk a little bit of Utah, Iowa State, basketball, okay? Iowa State currently looking for their 10th win, looking to stay undefeated at home after their win over Baylor. Utah, on the other hand, 8-5 overall and 0-2 in the conference. Not not perfect. Let's just put it that way. They are not perfect. Neither is Iowa State, but that is neither here nor there. It's not what I'm talking about. Excuse me. Let's take a look at Utah here. This one, I went back and watched their game against Texas Tech, in which they lost 93-65. It's pretty bad. It's 28-point loss there, in case you were wondering. And to be completely honest, their record is not much better. On a 3-game skid, lost to Iowa, and then Baylor right before that. Top 25 Baylor 81-56. So kind of another beatdown there. Pretty close with Iowa, only 7 points. But the last 2 games have not been pretty for the Utes. And I went back and watched their game against the Red Raiders, if you will, as I said. And one guy stood out to me, not even a starter. Zach Keller, someone we should definitely be looking out for. Number 32, only played 17 minutes, but went 6 of 7. Therefore had 12 points. And I mean, he had like 2 rebounds here, 1 assist, 1 turnover. Nothing crazy, but the 6 of 7 was nuts. And why was that the case? The way that Utah played basketball was really interesting to me. They would kind of the thing that I saw more often than not for an offensive scheme for them, which they didn't really play a great offense. 65 points is not low per se, but when you face a team that's going to put up 93, you're going to have to score more than that. I saw a lot of drive to the block, kind of just outside the block, and they would leak somebody in because I'm assuming they were playing to Texas Tech. They knew this was going to happen, and Iowa State kind of, plays the same way. They'll double team, they'll get over aggressive, and they'll pull someone into the other block, a little wraparound, bounce pass, and all of a sudden, boom, you got a wide open look. Like 6 of 7, you don't do that shooting from 3 most nights, and so that stood out to me immediately. If that is going to be the way that Utah plays this game, Iowa State being over aggressive in certain points is going to be a bit of a problem. I believe that it could be a problem, I suppose, is how I'll pose it. And that's something we've talked about on this show. I think that Iowa State at times can be severely over aggressive, more so with closeouts at 45 feet. Not really sure why we're doing that, but I love the mentality, I suppose. More so that than on the block. But either way, if that's the case, if we double up on the block, expect a lot of wraparound passes. And Zach Keller, I don't know if it's scheme or if it's his vision. He knows where to be, and he was able to scoop up a lot of those points. That being said, the starters for the Utes, we got Caleb Lohner, Mike I'm going to butcher this. Mike S., Gabe Matson, Lawson Levering, and Mason Madsen. You heard 2 Madsens in there. They're twins or brothers. Not twins, I don't think. Either way, 2 starters. This is going to be a fun one. It's interesting, though. Gabe has been pretty solid in the non-conference and then comes through and 4 points in this game against Texas Tech, was shut down against Baylor as well. I will be interested to see as the leading scorer. All 4 of his points came on free throws. So I'll be very interested to see how his game translates against a very tough defensive team in Iowa State, obviously in Hilton as well. So this one, I'm not a huge score predictor, but it definitely is leaning, what I'm seeing, Iowa State could probably win this game pretty handedly. And it's not like Utah shot overly poorly in this game, 4 of 12 from 3. So in the first half, 6 of 23. So 26% from 3 is not bad. It's not like a 15%, but it's not that good either. 42% from the field as a whole, only 57% from the free throw line. That's not a great look right there. I'm trying to find that issue. Lawson shot 1 of 4, I guess, and then you got Jake Wallen off the bench, shot 0 of 2. Those are probably the 2 biggest culprits. That's kind of a surprising number, though. Only 57%. You usually see pretty high numbers on that free throw line. That being said, the Utes, this is going to be a challenge, I will say. And I think Iowa State, my biggest concerns are that overcommitment factor because this team is savvy with the ball. They move it around pretty well, and they're pretty quick. So Iowa State's going to have to be on their A game there. And then the other thing is, obviously, if Iowa State doesn't shoot really well, they're going to find a way to win. Like they are. That's what we've talked about over and over with this team is they find a way, but it's going to be tougher if you don't shoot really well. And if Utah decides to come out and shoot lights out, that's going to be a problem. But I think more realistically, if Utah plays at this level that they played against Texas Tech, 65-93, was never really that close. I mean, down, what does that say, 12 at the half. I am a little bit, and not that we've seen this from this team, but I am certainly on the edge of my seat to find out if Iowa State will play down to a team like Utah. Because if Iowa State ends up as the 1 seed or the 2 seed in the bracket come March, that means you're going to face a 16 seed or a 15 seed. And you're probably going to play someone who's not as good, who's not that championship caliber. And so for the long run, I am very interested to see, which is not, I mean, Baylor's a top 25 team and we still beat them by 19. So it's not like when we're up big, we just choke this away. We play careless basketball. We haven't seen those characteristics from this team, but I think this game, not writing Utah off by any means, but if it does get, kind of blown out of proportion early, I'll be very interested to see how that gets handled by this team. I can't wait. I honestly can't. I think this is going to be a really, really fun one. And it'll extend the streak at Hilton, and we'll move to 10 wins in our last 10 games. If we win this one, 10-0 in the last 10. Win streak extended to 10. You know what I'm trying to say there. And then obviously, I can't wait to see what TJ says on the mic, therefore, right after. So look out for, like I said, though, keep an eye on Zach Keller. That's a guy I immediately was like, I feel like we should watch out for him. And you look at his stats, like they're not that crazy. On the year, I'm pulling them up as we speak, only 4 points a game, 1.5 rebounds, 1 assist, shoots 70% though. I mean, probably 6'10", as we talked about yesterday. So tall. But the way he played against Texas Tech, I was very much like, we should keep him under wraps. We should watch out for him. Not because his shooting, like he wasn't shooting lights out from beyond the arc. No, he was just always in the right spot at the right time. Kind of like a Nate Heisey type beat, if that makes sense. That being said, I can't wait to watch this game. Hopefully you are as excited as I am. I know it doesn't sound like it. It's just the middle of the night. And so we got people trying to sleep here. Enjoy this fine Tuesday. And until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.